I can see you. So good. Hello, I'm Ray from Grey Trees Brewery. Thanks for viewing us tonight. Just want to talk a little bit about Grey Trees before we go into any beer taste. Grey Trees, obviously, we're from Aberdeen. Basically, South Wales Valleys. We started in 2011 in the Red Cow in Clwyd, and Clwyd, as you know, is obviously Grey Trees is a translation of Clwyd in Welsh. So yeah, when we first started, we had a pub. We got quite enthusiastic about selling traditional beer, which was really badly in a decline in the valleys going back all them years ago. And I just had a bit of a vision, really. We sold a lot of cask beer. At the time, we had all different craft beers from all over Wales and UK. And it was basically the start of the craft brewing revolution. So yeah, I mean, we obviously had CAMRA in then, and we were voted for CAMRA Pub of the Year, and which we won a few times. And then obviously, we developed the pub then for cask beer, and we had a reputation. And then this, everything grew from there. So and then I got launched some beers for a local brewery in South Wales and done some voluntary work for them. And then obviously I started brewing, and just one thing led to another. I started up a small brewery in the car park in Clwyd in the Red Cow, a 40-gallon brewery, which was quite small really, and started launching beers in the Red Cow. And obviously we called it Grey Trees after the village we were in, and things went from there. So we made small batches of beer and we sold it in the pub. And then after 5 years, the lease in the pub ran out. We had to make a decision whether we were going to carry on with Grey Trees, because basically we had a little bit of a story to tell, really, about winning all these CAMRA awards in the pub, and then going forward, then thinking about whether we should carry on with Grey Trees, because we didn't really know where we were in them days. And we decided, yeah, we're going to give it a run. So we decided to upgrade to 10 brewers barrels, which 10 brewers barrels is probably just under 1,700 litres, which is probably the most common size microbrewery now you see in UK. So we upgraded to that. And then obviously, instead of us selling in the pub, we were going to start selling beer, in market all over Wales and UK. So we had to rebrand ourselves, okay? So that was really important. So we rebranded. We wanted to try and make the company Welsh, but not overly like dragons jumping out and three feathers here and there. So what we did was we tried to make it discreet, being Welsh. So what we did was we had a company in Cwtchibok, designed the brand. And so it was quite Welsh, but it was discreetly Welsh. And if you look at our patchwork and all our artwork, there's little things that indicate that we are actually from the South Wales Valleys, i.e. the rugby post, the sheep, the chapels, all that kind of stuff, you would think about the valleys, really. So we rebranded, and then we started making the similar beers on the 10-barrel plant as we did in the 1-barrel plant. So Cradogs was the first beer we brewed. Obviously, Cradogs was the beer named after, Aberdeen's most famous son, really. I don't have to tell you, you probably know a little bit about the history about Cradogs. Don't want to go into that too much. But we wanted to make a good standard bitter at the time, pretty much like Brains Bitter or Wye Valley Bitter or, Felinfol or some of the existing breweries that were in Wales. And I just felt that, we had to make a good standard bitter. And then obviously the range and got a bit more expansive. We made a best fitter, which was Drummer Boy, named after Stuart Cable, who used to frequent the pub quite a lot. Bless his soul. And then we came up with a golden ale, which was Digger's Gold, which is again a story about something local in Clwyd. So yeah, we brought JPR's on, and JPR Williams, the gentleman, the great, fantastic number 50 he was, came to open the brewery for us, and then we made the stouts, then we made porters, and then everything, you know. So when we made the upgrade, beers were in place, and we brought other beers on since, like we've, you know, been very successful with our IPA, which is called Afghan IPA. It's won champion beer of Britain a couple of times, and last year we had Supreme Champion gold, silver with it. So, you know, we've obviously, you know, 3 trees now. We've had Digger's Gold, which has won the Golden Ale category 5 years running, which is, you know, quite a good thing to do. It's also had a silver in the British finals. Our Cradogs has won champion beer of Britain, of Wales. Our Porter has won champion Porter of Wales. Our Stout has had silver. So we've won loads of awards, and that's just with CAMRA. We've also won loads of SIBA awards, which is Society of Independent Brewers, which is an organisation we're involved, which supports small breweries. We've won, you know, Supreme Champion of Wales, overall Champion of Wales with that, and numerous other things. So, and we've also won some great taste awards as well. So, you know, we tick all the boxes with the awards. So that's pretty much it about Grey Trees. Obviously, we are looking to develop the business and move forward. We are looking at expanding soon, but obviously with the unknown and with COVID, we really don't know where we are at the moment. So we're in a position where we want to make that step, but unfortunately, with COVID, you know, we're on hold really, and but things are going really well, and the support we've had locally has been absolutely superb. So even during the lockdown time, we know we were well supported locally, nationwide, and not, you know, really locally and nationwide really. So we're really grateful for that kind of trade. So anyway, I'm just going to go in to do some beer tasting now. So the second beer, obviously I want to try and break the different taste into different styles tonight. So the first I'm going to start on is the Best Fitter, which is the second beer we brewed, which is Drummer Boy. One of the staff who was working at Grey Trees at the Red Cow decided to call our Best Fitter Drummer Boy after Stuart. So I'm just going to go through the tasting notes for Drummer Boy, pour a bottle, and talk you through it. All right, so can I have a Drummer Boy, please? Right. So there's the brand. Obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of artwork behind, which you probably can't make out. But Grey Trees Drummer Boy, it's a 4.2% traditional British Best Bitter. Okay, so we use Bramling Cross, which is the main hop in this beer, which is very traditional British hop, gives you like a very black curranty flavour. Comparing this beer to other beers would probably be Brains SA. So to give you an idea of mainstream beers, something like Brains SA would be, you know, your similar kind of style. So I'm just going to open the beer now. Just to let you know as well, we do all our bottling at Grey Trees. We did do some contract bottling, which didn't work out particularly well. And not just because the bottle wasn't beers we were being bottled, but we picked up problems with dissolved oxygen. And so we decided that we had to keep the bottling in-house. All our bottles are very traditionally brewed. Bottled rather. This is what we call bottle conditioned. So what you do is you've got a live yeast priming sugar in the bottle, and what happens is once the beer's been bottled and the cap is sealed, okay, the live yeast and the sugar react. They produce two things: alcohol, very small amounts, and carbon dioxide. And what happens is the beer, when it ferments with the sugar, when the yeast and the sugar ferments, it produces alcohol and CO2, and The problem is with the bottle top being on, the CO2 has gone nowhere to go, so it's absorbed into the liquid. It's pretty natural carbonation. So here we go. This is a 500 ml. This is a style of bottle we use. If you ever drink Greatree's bottle conditioned beer, it's really important you keep it upright and keep it the right temperature. I recommend serving this beer to be 12 to 14 degrees. In the summertime, probably when it's a lot warmer, probably get away with serving it at like 8, 9, 10 degrees. But being a purist, it should be between 12 and 14. So just going to open the bottle, okay? So there's a nice little bit of smoke and a little hiss off that. Okay, I'm going to pour it into one of our tulip grasses, Greatree's, as you can see. And there's our patchwork on the back, showing all our little artwork of what we're about. Okay, so there's an art to pouring bottle conditioned beer. Okay, it's important that you leave the yeast at the bottom. So I'm just going to start the pour. So you tilt the glass, lift the bottle up, and start pouring. Okay, so you can see it's going in nice and clear. There you go, okay, right to the bottom. As you get to the neck of the bottle, you want to stop these just there. So as you can see, you've got a lovely bronze colour beer, nice and bright. And then the yeast, then out of the bottom of the bottle, can go in there. So there's your live yeast in your bottle, your live beer, all right? And then there's your lovely crystal clear beer. I'm not saying, you know, it's up to you. If you want to pour the whole lot in, that's up to you. But this is a traditional way of bottle conditioning. Some of the classic bottle conditioned beers you'll see on you know, in Asda's or Tesco's would be St. Austell's do Tribute, I think, or Big Proper Job. You tend to see that. You also see Worthington White Shield, which is a classic IPA of the day, which is again bottle conditioned. And you also see some Fuller's beers as well. They tend to do a bit of bottle conditioning. It's something that's lost its way with all the modern style of beers that's coming out, the cloudy, hazy beers. But, you know, we've chosen to keep it very traditional. So just to pick the glass up, as you can see, it's lovely crystal clear and lots of fizz. Just smell the aroma first. First thing I get with the Drummer Boy is it's got a lovely malty background. Gets the crystal malt, Carragold malts, which we put in there. Maris Otter, get a bit of blackcurrant, and there's a little bit of citrusy flavours from another hop we put in, but that's a trade secret. I don't want to speak too much about that. So if you're a best bitter drinker, you know, this is a go-to best bitter for me. Lovely, lovely aroma. Just dive in now. So yeah, you've got the earthy, malty flavours from the Bramlin cross hops and the malt. It's quite crystal, like a roasted flavour coming through. So we do use a little bit of roasted barley in there, in this beer. It's lovely, clean and crisp. And if you ever have it on cask, you know, on the pull, on a hand pull, it's very, very moreish, like best bitter, if you like. Just speaking about beer styles, I just think that, you know, one of the things I wanted to get across tonight was that we do traditional styles, but we do them the more modern craft cask styles, like the pale ales. But I just think the best bitters, as in like the Vellingball Double Dragons, the Grange SAs, the Wye Valley bitters, they tend to be pushed aside now, unfortunately, because, you know, it's a classic style of bitter or best bitter. But unfortunately, with the new trends coming forward now, with all these different kinds of really hoppy pale beers, they've been pushed away. And I'm a big fan of drinking. If I ever go to Cardiff, if I ever go to the City Arms, first thing I'll ever do is drink a Brains bitter or an SA, just to compare it to the style, you know, to our bitter. So, you know, unfortunately, he's probably watching this video now, thinking, "Oh, look, what's he talking about? Drinking about, talk about more modern styles." But unfortunately for us as a nation, this is the style that has been neglected over the last 5, 6, 10 years, even with the new craft brewing revolution. And obviously, like a hop we use in this called Branding Cross, which gives you like a nice black curranty flavour, have been taken over by American varieties like the Challenger, like the Centennials and the Citras and the Mosaics, and more the British brewers have gone towards that rather than sticking with, the Branding Crosses and the Fuggles and the Challenger hops that are grown in Kent and Herefordshire. So yeah, I mean, it's very important that we keep these styles on, but with modern trends, unfortunately, think we're losing our way a bit. Like Miles, for instance, was a classic British style. You don't tend to see a mild anywhere now. Brains. I always use Brains because that's what we've been brought up in Wales. If you look at Brains Dark, that's a classic mild. You can never go to a pub now ever and see a mild beer there. So there's styles that have lost their way, within UK. So I'm just going to have another little drop of this. Again, lovely aroma, lovely clean bitterness to it. Yeah, very crisp, but very soft and very, very sweet, as you would expect with a British best bitter. Yeah, we named this after Stuart. Stuart was a big fan of some of the dark beers we used to sell, and at the time in the Red Cow, he was Marston's Hobgoblin, and he was, he's a character. And when he passed away, that's one of the things. When we first started the brewery, we wanted to name a beer after Stuart. He won his first award just recently. It was a Great Taste Award, so we're really proud of that. And I'm glad that the beer has got a bit of recognition. We've worked up really hard at this beer. Out of all the beers we've produced, the Drummer Boy, a best bitter, we've tried different hops, we've tried different methods, dry hopping, we've done loads and loads of things to it. And I think the beer is where it needs to be now, and we settle in with the recipe we have. Obviously, with craft brewing, like we are on 10 brewers barrels or 1,700 litres, it's important that we keep developing our beers and looking at them, tasting for consistency, tasting for the raw ingredients that's coming in to make sure they're consistent, and then developing our beers and moving with times, because unfortunately, a lot of the older breweries in Wales haven't done that. They've stuck with the recipes, and you've got to move with times. You've got to keep developing, and as the saying goes, you're only as good as your next beer, really. So, yeah, and that's what we're about. Great Trees. We'll always keep developing. We'll always keep trying to win titles, and it's really a part. Really, really important for us that we keep to the keep to the beer at a good standard, and keep competing in the big competitions. And yeah, it's really important for us. So just have another taste of this.
More than a taste.
Absolutely superb. As you can see, it sticks to the glass. It's very nice. We use torrefied wheat in every beer we make, 10% torrefied wheat, and that's what gives us the head retention or the clinging to the glass. Okay. What people don't realise sometimes is when you drink some of these mainstream beers, especially smooth and cream flows and stouts, like I don't think I'm allowed to say what stouts they are, but they nitrogenate them, which means they put nitrogen into them. So what happens is the nitrogen makes them really creamy, and it gives them an even thicker head, which is pretty much cosmetic. But this head, or this clinging to the glass, is purely down to natural, using the right ingredients, which is torrefied wheat. Okay, so that's Drummer Boy. I'm going to move on to the next beer now, which is a more modern style, which is one of our flagship, well, I'd probably say it's our flagship beer, Diggers Gold. Okay, 4% ABV, Golden Ale. Going back many years ago, when the Golden Ales first came out, they were like, people were like thinking, what's this, is a lager or whatever. But Golden Ales now have become a big part of the beer industry in UK. They have become huge, and like I said, some of the bitters and the best bitters and some of the other styles have been pushed aside for golden beers. So there's our golden beer, Diggers Gold. It's been, says on the label, champion Golden Ale of Wales 2015 to 2019. And in 2017, it was also silver champion golden beer of Britain. So that was a bit of a scalp for us. It's the first British title we ever took. So yeah, and Diggers Gold was named after a dog called Digger in Llywguide. One of my friends said to me, he said, "Oh, I got to make a name for this beer." So he begged me to call it Digger. So I thought, well, with it being golden, we call it Diggers Gold. So at the time, 4% beers, you could look at some really good breweries around at the time. One of them, which was Otley in Pontypridd, who were producing a beer called O1. That was a great beer. We tried to make a beer with the same hop aroma and some hop flavour. At the time, we also had Tiny Rebel, had Fubar. We had Celtic Experience, also had some nice golden ales out there. Kite had some nice golden ales. So, you know, the golden ale category to me is a very, very big category in any beer tasting event or beer competition. And with it being 4% as well, it's a good, like, sessionable beer, you know. So it's really important that when we came on the scene, the Diggers Gold had to, you know, make an impact. If we look back on the history of golden ales, some of the golden ales that were served going back like 10, 15 years ago when they first came out, you had Timothy Taylor Landlord, which is such a very popular golden ale even to this day. What you find is when you go further north towards mid Wales, you see a lot of pubs. Pubs towards us, they always sell Timmy Taylor Landlord, and it was brewed with an Eastern European hop. Going back all them years ago when Brewdog started casking beers, they were using all these American varieties, and the golden ale category completely changed in the fact that, you know, I think we had Brains SA Gold and Timmy Taylor Landlord, and quite iconic. There was another brewery called Hopback Brewery, were making golden ales, but then when we had this influx from America with all these American variety hops coming in. And one of my favourite golden ales today is modern styles, was from a brewery called Salopian. Salopian is Shropshire, and they made a beer called Oracle. And I always wanted to make a beer taste similar to Oracle because it was a lovely hop flavour, balance. It had everything that golden ale should, a modern golden ale should have had. So we come up with Diggers. So Diggers is packed with American variety hops. Okay, trade secret again. I don't want to tell you which hops we put in there, but they are big, pungent, big hitters, and very expensive hops to use as well in a golden beer. So I'm just going to open up another bottle. So this time around, I've got the other Grey Trees glass, which is the more traditional one you see in the pubs, which is an ale glass, which I would class as an ale glass. All right. So here we go, Diggers Gold. Nice this. Again, another bottle conditioned beer, so it's really important we pour it correctly. All right, so there's my glass. There's my bottle. Start pouring. So as it's pouring, I'm going to catch the yeast in the neck of the bottle. Keep going. Cut. So again, there you go, a nice golden beer. crystal clear, bright, lovely condition in the beer. Okay, and then the yeast. So there's my yeast, where it belongs, in the little glass, and my bright beers in the glass. There you go. So anyway, Diggers, here we go. Have a little smell of it. First thing you do with Diggers Gold is you pick up these American aromas. So you get grapefruit, you get passion fruit, you get everything you get like with the American varieties, which I think, going forward, I think every golden ale should have some kind of like this kind of aromas going through, because it's very modern. And just have a smell again. So you've got citrus flavors, you've got passion fruit, you've got tropical fruit flavors, you've got blueberry flavors coming through, and it's just a pleasure just to pick the pint up and just smell the aroma alone. It's fantastic. As you can see, there's loads of condition in the beer. It's lovely and crystal clear. So I'm just gonna, lovely aroma which activates your palate. So you're expecting something quite unique straight away as soon as you drink it. Absolutely superb flavour. So that passion fruit aroma. This beer is actually brewed with just pale malt, which is not much of a secret. So as you can see, it's golden because it's just pale malt. It's got no Carigol, no crystal, no roasted barley, no amber malts. So it is pretty much a simple recipe with a little bit of torrefied wheat, as you can see, to keep the head going, that natural head we've got. But the big thing with this is the American hop varieties we put in there to get it, to have that pungenty flavour. And back in 2015, I think it was, we were first, put Diggers Gold into competition. It was in the Great Welsh Beer Festival, Canberra's Great Welsh Beer Festival, and it won gold. And at the time, there was a lot of good breweries about making golden beer, because this was everybody wanted to make a great golden beer. And to us, it was a massive achievement to win the golden ale category in Wales, because you had the Celtic experiences making really good beer. You had the Ockleys, you had all these different craft breweries that were all won British titles and were, the almost like the guys that everybody was following. Tiny Rebel and Fubar won Champion Beer of Wales. So, it was a massive achievement for us. And at the time, we just couldn't believe we'd won that category. So, and then in 16, we won it, 17, 18, and in 19, we also won it. And in 19, it also was Silver Supreme overall champion of Wales. So, it has achieved a lot in the last 7 years, and we'd like to try and keep hold of this title as well. The other beer that's competed really well with this in the golden ale category is we launched our Mosaic Pale Ale. I'll just show you the Mosaic. Again, there's no hiding what hop goes into this beer. Okay. Now the Mosaic was another golden category, golden ale at 4.2%. We done a series of different single hop brews. Okay. So what we did was we done Chinook, we did Mosaic, we did Centennial, we done Equinox. So basically what we were doing was we were telling the people the hops we using in the beer and single hop brews, so people could, acknowledge the flavors that we were getting from these American varieties. So with them, like the Centennial, you were getting very floral, lovely, like fantastic, like floral, citrusy flavors. The Equinox, we done Equinox American Pale Ale, was full of like appley, like green pepper flavors. And the Mosaic, the hop Mosaic, is such a big pungent hop the Mosaic has almost taken over our Diggers now as the best-selling beer we do. Again, 4.2%. Same again, Maris Otter, all pale malt. Nothing special about the recipe, but the hop infusion is boosh. You just get that flavour coming through straight away. So there's the two flagship beers for us in the golden category. We sell lots and lots of the both of them. Very similar beers, but the hop flavours are quite unique and quite different. So just have another taste of this, Diggers. What's the time? You see, lovely crystal clear. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to drink Diggers and Mosaic, and you've been a very traditional beer drinker, what you'll find is you'll get these big hop aromas coming through. And like I noticed, you know, in Wales especially, like people are used to drinking the old styles, but when you drink these modern styles, you know, it's just like broadens your palate kind of thing, and it's really important that, you know, people have accept that, you know, these things are happening in the industry, and you can't just be like thinking, right, I'm going to drink that style of beer. You know, it's important, like, and it's the big thing, because as a brewer and as us at Great Trees, we drink all our different styles. Obviously, we pick a certain style we'll probably like more than other, but it's important that you get to drink, you know, as a beer drinker, you drink porters, from a porter to a stout all the way through to a double IPA, you know. So, you know, it's such a good time to be drinking beer now in the market, because you've got lots of these different, you know, beer styles around, you know. So anyway, back to the Diggers Gold. Such a quaff of a beer. Diggers Gold is, you know, we sell a lot of it in South Wales, and Mid Wales and North Wales, but South Wales, obviously, with us being in the area, you'll see it in Cardiff, Pontypridd, quite a good area for Diggers Gold. You know, as you work up towards the valleys, Merthyr, Aberdare, Tredegar Valley, all them, you'll see Diggers Gold everywhere. Swansea Valley, down in towards Neath, you know, you'll see Diggers Gold knocking about, and it is pretty much, you know, people know Diggers Gold for what it is, and if they walk in and they want to drink golden beer, they'll go straight for Diggers Gold. So anyway, let's just polish this off. Now we'll go on to the next category. That's really nice. Okay, so we've just done the best bitter and golden category. Okay, so the next category you want to talk about is the IPA category, right? The IPA category is a category that has completely changed the industry. The craft brewing revolution happened in America, and then it came over to us in UK, and it has been quite, you know, everybody wants to make IPAs. You know, Indian Pale Ales. Indian Pale Ales were brewed originally in Britain, sent to the soldiers in India. So, you know, beer was strong. It had to last the journey. They opted it very heavily, and then they got it down to Portsmouth. They put it on the ships. They sailed south, across the equator, around the Cape, and they walked back up across the equator into India. And at the time, you know, there was lots going on in India. And if you think of the northwest frontier, which is now Pakistan, Afghanistan, all them areas, there was British soldiers there. With the East India Company, which was another part of an army within the British Empire. And all them soldiers had to be replenished with beer. So they did send the beer over in the ships. So we thought about making an IPA. We looked at what was out there and what we were competing against. you know, and he looked at some of the local ones, which was Tiny Rebels, or I think it was Urban IPA they used to do. So I thought, oh, we've got to make a 5.6% IPA to try and compete with Tiny Rebel. And he used to add Thornbridge, Jaipur, and all these kinds of things. And I thought about, you know, naming a beer, you know, significantly to India and what happened over there. And I thought Afghan was the perfect name for the beer because of, you know, the British influence that went on in the 1800s. So we came up with the beer. We thought, well, we call it Afghan IPA. So there's our there's our Afghan IPA here. Okay, another multi-award winning beer. It's been champion strong bitter of Wales for 4 years in a row. It's won 17 and 19 strong bitter of Britain, and it's also a supreme champion in the silver. So it's also won SEBA champion beer of Wales. I think this is the only beer in the history of Wales that actually won SEBA and CAMRA Pub of the Year. CAMRA and SEBA overall champion beer of Wales. So there it is, Afghan Pale Ale. Again, a lot of the brewers out there now are making IPAs which are purely golden colour. But, you know, looking at the Worthington White Shields I was speaking about earlier, and some of the IPAs originally were like the Bass, like a draft Bass, like a very amber colour. So just to give you an idea that pale ales going back years ago weren't as pale or as golden as they are now. So we wanted to try and make a beer that looked like an old style IPA, but it had the modern style hop infusion. So just going to move over to the amber glass here, the tulip glass. Okay, so there's the Afghan. Got all the awards on there. So you've got the CAMRA awards, SEBA awards. Again, bottle conditioned beer, served at 12 to 14 degrees. Just going to open this now. Nice hiss. Nice bit of gas coming out of there. All right. This one's a tulip bottle pour. Okay, just get it right. And we're just gonna cut these to the bottom of it. And so you go, lovely crystal clear beer. So out of the 3 beers we've poured tonight, that's the yeast content in each bottle. Okay. So here we go, Afghan Pale Ale. I mean, it's quite a unique name to call Indian Pale Ale an Afghan Pale Ale. It is an Indian Pale Ale, but you know there was so much history going back to the British when we were in the northwest frontier, and you know when the ships came into India, the IPAs were distributed around India, so soldiers could drink it, and you know, when we first launched it, I thought it's got to make an impact. It's got to have a name that makes an impact. And it's got to be done, you know, within a unique way. And you know, it certainly has made the impact. And you know, it's great to win the category in Wales, the strong bitter category, and then go to London in Olympia and win, you know, the strong bitter category in 17 and 19. I don't really know what happened in 18. We just didn't do particularly well. But and then having the Supreme, at the end of the day, there's only ever been 2 breweries in Wales to ever go to London and have Supreme champion beers. So, and they're all modern. Tiny Rebel with Kutch and Grey Trees with Afghan. As I keep saying, if you look at the colour of the Afghan, It's not gold like a Jaipur. It's not golden like a lot of the IPAs you see. It's very traditionally pale ale, like it would have been back in the day. All right, so just gonna have a quick smell of it on the aroma. Again, first thing I pick up is all these hoppy aromas, very citrusy, very floral. You can see it's crystal clear, got lovely head retention again. We use torrefied wheat in this, mainly Maris Otter, bit of Carrigold, bit of crystal malt, just to give it a little bit of colour, and lots of body in the beer. I mean, as I keep saying, a lot of the the IPAs of modern day, like the one that really set get everybody to start drinking IPAs in Britain was Brewdog's Punk IPA. Brewdog obviously were cask producers, and then it went over to drinking keg beers, producing keg beers, and then I always remember when I was going back in the early days having Brewdog beer on the cask, and then they went to the kegs, and then everybody else followed suit with the kegging instead of the casking. But it is good, to have these styles of beer in cask form as well as keg form. But I think Punk IPA was one of the first golden ales, IPAs that actually pushed, the boat out, and everybody got drinking them, and they just think it was a revolution in IPAs. So with them styles, they're very pale. With ours, there's a bit of colour in them, which is very traditional. But then we've got lots of aroma coming off. So just have another smell of it, the taste. Lovely hop flavours. We use an hop called Centennial in this, which is an American hop, which gives you lots of floral flavours, and it's just like a pleasure to drink. Again, 5.6% ABV. It's quite a big hitter. Sorry, 5.4% ABV. It's a big hitter. It's got lots of, but they say IPA should always be strong. So it's important that the ABV is what it is, because every style of beer you drink has like a kind of ABV towards it. So if you look at like Great Britain and what we've done over the years with different styles of beer, we've lowered them. So most of the lagers or continental lagers going back all them years ago were like 5.5%. We brought them into this country, they were so strong, people couldn't drink them. So what they done was they lowered the strength of them. The problem is when you've got a style of beer, when you lower the strength of it, it spoils the style. I'm not saying that you should drink strong beer, but the style of beer you're drinking should be at that ABV. All right, so an IPA, they used to say that the IPAs they used to send over there to India was 8%. Obviously, that's not palatable for us at that level, but there's lots of beers, people out there who are doing them, 8% beers. But I think, an IPA should be 5% and above, get that kind of flavour coming through. So, have another smell. Definitely pick up the Centennial. And another trade secret is a bit of Citra in there, which is another big American hop. And I just smell the lovely citrusy flavours coming off. It's almost like when you open the bottle, you get the flavours coming off, and it's like a lovely aroma. So your palate is ready to take the flavours of the beer. Really nice. Another thing with the Afghan Pale Ale is that there's not that many pubs will buy Afghan because of the strength of it. There is one pub that's always got it on permanently in South Wales, and that's the Red Cow in Honstickle in Merthyr. They chosen to get that as their like flagship beer in their pub, and they've done really well with it. You will get it in the National Tap, well, which is our tap house, but sometimes it's not always available, and we tend to rotate the Afghan sometimes because it is a strong beer, and we don't want to try and get people to drink strong ales because you know people do get ridiculously out of, like, they do drink lots of it and they end up in a bit of a knot with it because at the end of the day in the valleys we're not used to drinking strong beers, so it's really important that we keep on top of drinking it stronger ABV beers. So now another dive in again. You see, again, look at the condition on that. That's a live beer. Most of the beers you get today are forced carbonated beers. So what they do is they put they squirt the CO2 into the beer, carbonate it. But this beer has been naturally carbonated in the bottle with the yeast I've just shown you. And this is probably carbonated to about 2.3 to maybe 2.2 to 2.3 volumes of CO2. But some of the modern styles are more like 2.5 to 2.6 volumes of carbonation. So sometimes when you drink them, you get that gassy feeling in your stomach. With this, it's very natural. So when you drink it, it doesn't, give you the same feeling in your stomach. So that's another good thing about bottle conditioned beer. You don't get the same mouth feel with it. You get that fizz all the time with it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, the forced carbonation, but sometimes it is nice to drink a traditionally, naturally carbonated beer. It doesn't give you an headache when you get up in the morning after a couple of beers. So, it's something that a lot of breweries should be doing more, and they're not, unfortunately. So, just have another taste. Again, as you can see, the lovely, beautiful pale ale colour. Pick a lot of that Centennial aroma coming through. Yeah, absolutely lovely. I think, talking about different styles and as you move forward, a lot of the older drinkers have turned around to me and they've said, like, this is just like a short period of time with all this IPA thing is going to go away. But I don't think it ever will. I think, it's here to stay. A lot of the older drinkers have said, like, oh, yeah, it's just a phase in the industry and this, that, and the other. But, I just think that, these IPAs and these hop flavors are never going to go away. And in America now, the hop growing that's gone on over there is quite significant because they've doubled the hop yields they have because of the flavors. And unfortunately, in Britain, we can't kind of get them flavors into our beer with the British hops. But that's not to say we haven't lost the traditional British bitter or the traditional British porter. So, yeah. So, talking about different flavors and different styles, just want to show you a couple more. That one, pass that beer. So this is our Welsh version of our Welsh rugby beer, JPR's Pale Ale. Probably the world's greatest 15 ever. John Peter Rhys Williams. When I first phoned John Williams up and I said, oh, could you come up and do a bit of a, represent Great Trees and we're launching a new brewery. I asked him would he come along, and I asked him then, could I make a beer named after him? And John said to me, he said, yeah, you can make a beer after me, no trouble at all. And I said, I'm thinking about making a 3.8% bitter. And John said, no. He said, it's going to have to be a pale ale and it's going to have to be over 4.5%. So, the man spoke and I thought, right, I'm going to try and develop this beer now. So anyway, we come with GPR's Pale Ale. This was brewed in the Red Cow originally, and it's still being brewed today. Again, it's not as strong as the Afghan. It's a lower gravity beer and it's more balanced. So it hasn't got the hop infusion the Afghan has, but it's got a malty flavour, so it's more towards a traditional British style best bitter or pale ale, or so it's a really good seller for us. And to be honest, it's one of my favourite beers, and it's one of our, probably the most underrated beer we do. So that's GPR's Pale Ale. Just swill away. We're just going to move on to the GPRs now. I've left half of the Afghan because it's getting a bit strong. So we got GPR's Pale Ale. Again, lovely fizz, natural carbonation. Pouring it. Just catch east to the bottom. Perfect. There you go. Lovely. So the 4 beers we pulled tonight, there's the remaining yeast. There you go. There it is. Very small amount of yeast. Lots and lots of bright crystal beer. So the only beer I can compare GPR's Pale Ale to is St. Austell's Tribute. Now, St. Austell's Tribute is a classic British, you call it best bitter or maybe a pale ale. And there's a couple of pubs that do sell it in South Wales, and it's a classic style, as I said earlier, about Timmy Taylor and all them styles. Brains bitter, all these old beers I used to know from years ago. And I think GPR's, whoever come to our tap house, it's one of them go-to beers you need to drink because it's got such a lovely balance on it. With it, with the Diggers Gold, you get lots of hops and the mosaic, and with the Afghan, you get the hops coming through. But this beer, again, it's got some crystal malt in it, some Caragol malt. But what's unique about it is it's got a balance between the hops and the malt. So it tilts more towards the traditional style of British beer. Lovely hop aroma, lovely balance. Obviously, we use Maris Otter, torrefied wheat in this as well, as you can see. Lovely. Whoever said real ale was flat. Look at the condition on that. Superb. So yeah, I think we're coming towards the end now. So it's GPR's Pale Ale. Great beer. Lots of aroma. Very well balanced. Tilts more towards the British style of beers you want to be drinking. If you want to ever come to the tap house or you want to buy some beer off Grey Trees, it's www.greytreesbrewery.com. I'm Ray, I'm the brewer, as you know, and we're looking to expand our beer and our brewery to the next level. Wish you all the best with COVID. These difficult times. It's very difficult for us all at the moment. I can just only say to you, just be patient. If you ever want to come up and visit us, come and see us, and we will be selling bottles once we go into lockdown, or bagging boxes and everything. So yeah, come along and visit us and drink some good classic Valley beer. Thank you very much. Good night. very good.